For homework 1, we'll begin by opening the NC Birth 800 dataset. Remember, you can open Excel files straight into JUMP. So I'm going to click on that dataset and press open. And JUMP will bring in the import wizard. And you can take a look and see if it's importing correctly. There's options you can change. We do have column headers, so if I uncheck that, you see then the column headers will be in row 1. And if I recheck it, they'll go back into the column. If you have multiple row headers, you can tell it which column the row headers are in and so forth. But this looks okay, so I'm going to press import. And now we have the NC Birth 800 dataset. The problem here is that this dataset contains what we call dummy codes. So if we look at the distribution of, say, sex and marital status and smoking, we actually have all numeric values, and in addition to that, they're being treated like numbers. You can see here we've got means and medians and standard deviations, and they're actually categorical variables. The easy thing to do, the very straightforward easy thing to do, is in the columns menu on the left, is to change this from a continuous measure, which is the blue triangle, to a categorical or nominal measure. So it will keep it as a number, but it will make it as a nominal value. So you can see now that sex is given a distribution with percentages. But the problem with that is that I will continually have to reference the data dictionary in the Daniell textbook to find out what is sex 1 and what is sex 2. I would advise you moving forward with your own data that you do not code things in terms of zeros and ones or ones and twos. If it is a character value like sex or gender or marital status, to actually code it using those levels. So it should say male and female. Computer programs no longer require all numeric options. And so it's better for you and easier for you if you code it correctly. We have a couple of options in JUMP. You could make new columns, could add new columns over here, and then do if then else statements or matching statements in JUMP to make them say male and female. But there's actually an easier option in JUMP, and we'll demonstrate it with the sex variable and with the low birth weight variable. So I'm going to select both of them. You can see I have both of them selected. And I'm going to go into column information. And you can see that the column information has come up for both. The first thing I want to do is change sex to a character value. And then under column properties, there's an option called value labels. So column properties, value labels. And you'll see this box that comes up that is going to allow you to recode things. So I know from this, from the data dictionary in Daniell on page 62, that sex of 1 is a male child. So under value, I'm going to put 1, and under label, I'm going to put male, and then I'm going to click add. And under value 2, I'm going to write female and click add. I'll do the same for low birth weight, column properties, value labels, and then for low birth weight, it was 0 if they were not low birth weight, and add, and it was a 1 if they were low birth weight. And you could put birth weight in here if you'd like. So I have a 0 for not low and 1 for low birth weight. Now I'm going to press, go up to the top and press apply. And you can see immediately the change in the background and press OK. And so now you can see that I have two categories that now have, instead of zeros and ones, oops, excuse me, I forgot to change low birth weight to a character variable. Press OK. And now I'll go back and do a distribution again on sex and low birth weight, both of which have now become character variables. because that's what they are, and they're no longer numeric. And you can see that we're getting proportions here, which is what we want. I'm going to close out of this and bring up a data set where I have actually redone all of the labels, so that instead of 1s and 2s and 0s and 1s, I now have the actual labels for the data. And then to begin answering the questions for the Daniell question on NC 800 and the birth weights, the first question is, find the probability that a mother in this sample has admitted to smoking. So let's write that down. Find the probability that a mother in this sample has admitted to smoking. So this is how I'm going to keep my notes for this before I write up what it is I want to do. And now I'm going to go back to the data set, and I want to find the probability that a mother in the sample has admitted to smoking. So that reads a little like a conditional probability, conditioning on mothers. What's the probability that they admitted to smoking? But as we know, this data set is all mothers. So it's really just asking what proportion of people were smokers. So I'm going to go to the Analyze menu, Distribution. I'm going to select Smoke and press OK. And now you can see, because I had labeled these, that I have a very clear answer. Now I'm going to actually just save my output so that I can go back and write things up later. You could journal this in JUMP. So I could do Edit and Journal. And you see a window pops up that looks exactly like the window I had here. But the beauty of it is that as I continue through here and add things to the journal, it will save all of my output in one place. For example, let me go back to the Analyze menu and address the second question, which is premature baby. So I'll put preemie here and press OK. And you see I come up with my distributions here. But if I go and say journal, now the premature distribution has saved to my journal. I can save my journal. Let's do homework 1, Daniell question 23. So that's my journal. And I can open it up. It's going to ask me if I want to embed this, and the answer is yes. So, and then I could also export it as a rich text file. Press Next. Press Export. And you can see here that it's given me the distributions of all that I have done. There's also, I'm going to close this now, but there's also an easy way to do this. So I've done smoking. I'm going to use the big fat plus sign here and select. And then I'm going to copy, which is Command C or Control C on Windows. And then I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to paste. And now I have everything as very large font. That's my default in JUMP, but I'm going to change it back here to 12 point. And so now that I know I've gotten the data for this first question. And I can go back to writing up that later. But first I'm going to answer all of the questions. Now, some of the questions get into given that. So they're looking at conditioning. Find the probability. So we'll go here and put in another part. I want to find the probability that, so I'm going to skip the premature baby question and I'm going to ask for find the probability that a mother had a premature baby given that the mother admitted to smoking. So I need to first find all the smokers, and then I need to find the probability that out of the smokers, the mother had a premature baby. So in JUMP, there's a number of ways that you can do this, but the easiest thing to do is to do a fit y by x. So analyze, fit y by x, and I'm going to put smoking as my x and premature baby as my y. You could do it the other way. This just makes more sense to me. Smoking is the factor that was assessed prior to the baby being premature. So they were smoking while they were pregnant. So that seems to be an X variable, and the premature baby seems to be the outcome. And press OK. And you'll see here that JUMP gives us a very nice output here. And from here, we actually could have gotten the answer to both of the questions, A and B. So if we look at smoking, we know that we have 684 non-smokers and 114 smokers. Those are in our marginal totals. And if you recall, here are our actual smoking results. So non-smoker, 0.85714, look, 85.71. So that actually answers the non-smoker and smoker question. The same thing for part B, probability of a premature baby. That's actually answered in these marginal totals. And that will be the same as if we look at the distribution of premature babies in an analysis menu. So if I quickly go back to looking just at preemies in a distribution, you can see here that I get similar numbers. Now, they're not quite the same. This is a good point. There were 800 people with samples, and we have preemie, not preemie, but we also have some smokers that are missing. Smokers that are missing status. See here, 798 was our total. So you can do one of two things. You can get the proportions and report them 85.71 for the smoking. And then for premature babies, you can report these proportions out of 800. You could also state that you need to have a complete sample, and you could report these proportions. And that's up to you and your explanation. If you reported 88.4 and said 705 out of 798, you would get credit for that, but it would take the explanation that there were 2 people missing smoking status, and you were looking at those with smoking status and premature babies. So back to the given question, find the probability that a mother had a premature baby given that the mother admitted to smoking. So we're looking at the smoking row. So out of 114, how many had a premature baby? And there were 15 out of 114 babies. That is a row proportion here. In this row, out of 114 people, I want 15 divided by 114, and that gives me this 13.2%. So again, here, I can copy this, and I can go back to my Word document and simply paste it. And then, of course, I would need to make the font smaller. But you get the picture here as to how you can collect all of your data prior to answering the questions. So you can utilize your Word document and your JUMP to organize your thoughts and then go back and write up the results that you get.